to you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Takedown Podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, joined as always by my boy RC. And no, I'm not talking about the cola. I'm talking about my boy Roy Costin. How are you, Roy?
I'm great, man. I love RC Cola.
I
I'm
gotta
so
tell
mad
you,
that you even mentioned it.
let me tell you something here. As two guys in the Carolinas, I always remember. Obviously, I got my cheer wine right here for those loving some cheer wine.
Yep.
I also remember having RC Cola at my cousin's house. I think we even bought it here for a little bit. If anybody has never had RC Cola, go out of your way and have it. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it got lost in the whole cola war thing between Pepsi and Coke, but honestly, RC Cola is so great. It's underrated.
It's going to go back to the days when you see like all the nostalgia boom for like 90s kids and 2000s kids. It's like, hey, remember when we had RC Cola when we used to drink High C and you bring a Capri Sun and stuff? It's like we're going down the memory lane because I think a lot of people realize it, especially the Gen Zers need to realize. Appreciate the subtleties and the intricacies and nuances because it's the little things that really do gives you the overall nostalgia, you know?
Yeah, you remember they brought Surge back for a little bit, like a few
Oh
years
my
ago?
God, yes. Boy, I got to tell you, I even go back to the days of when they had the energy drinks and the friggin' oh God, what was it? So be it.
Yeah.
So be it. Oh my.
Oh, that and the glass bottles. Like I mentioned something about a glass bottle of Gatorade the other day, and the person I was talking to was like, Gatorade came in a glass bottle. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. The first iteration of Gatorade was the little glass bottles with the little orange top on them and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So great, so great.
So, with our drinks aside and our drinks of choice, I know you guys love it when we do what we do when we banter, but yeah, no, we got to go from drinks to we get our drinks of wrestling, if you will, our overall liquid courage, if you will. Because I got to tell you, Roy and I were talking about this before we got on air. Sometimes it can be tough to be a wrestling fan, especially WWE around these times. But I think with all of us as wrestling fans, we go through the good, we go through the bad, and we go through the ugly. It's like with some of your favorite sports. Like I am so happy right now as a New Yorker that the Knicks are in the finals right now because we had to deal with a lot. I'm sure you've had to deal with a lot with all of our sports teams. But I think the ride is worth it because at the end of the day, too, you're going to get some good in there. It's just trying to find it and have the nice balance that goes with everything.
I mean, but you can also thank Danhausen from what I've heard.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Danhausen, for cursing those Cavaliers.
Yeah, I mean it's the same with me for the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes have, I think since '07 they haven't really done too much, and now we're looking at, playoffs and everything. So we're looking to maybe go to the cup again. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you look at everything that what we're doing and everything that comes with the alternatives and everything that comes with pro wrestling and anything in life, we got our case of great wrestling. We did get Double or Nothing. And I have to say this. I know Tony loves him, them long, long pay-per-views that sound like Adam Sandler and Mr. Deeds, long, long, long fellow Deeds. Stuff like that really does take over a lot of the consumption of professional wrestling that we got. And I have to say this right now. I think it was kind of a foregone conclusion. And we know what Christian Cage said in the IQA match. I just BANGED'd your mom, which I thought was hilarious. But
Yeah.
thing that they did in that match to see Beth Phoenix come back, I was happy for the nostalgic kick to see Cope and Christian, which is hard to even say, Edge and Christian winning the world tag titles. What'd you think?
I mean, yeah, it was one of those matches where going into it, I don't know if you saw the TikTok that I did, but I predicted FTR winning just because you feel like Christian and Cope, they're older. There's been rumbles about, possibly retiring soon. And this could have been a cool, kind of not only do I quit in this match, but I quit wrestling to take it back to, family and everything like that. But I mean, you look at some of the spots that they did, there was belts, barbed wire, chairs, ladders, like everything that you could want for in a I quit match. And I mean, yeah, like you said, that spot where they thought he was going to say I quit, where they put his hand through the cinder block and then smashed it. Like it's a creative way of doing it. And then having Stokely with the Mick Foley spot, through the flaming table.
Mhm.
It just the whole match as a whole was great. And like you said, bringing back Beth, it's always fun to see Beth. I wish selfishly that they would do, AEW versus WWE or something like that down the road. That way we can get Beth and Natty, especially this new iteration of Natty, together just to be like absolute monsters and terror against all the women locker room. But yeah, it was a great match, and I think it did what it needed to do, which is prove FTR isn't here to play around anymore, and Cope and Christian are still able to go.
I'm right there with you. I mean, if you think of the hardcore stuff that those guys have done, I mean, FTR will be here all day with the Briscoes, rest in peace, Jay. But you look at what Edge did with Foley, that infamous flaming table spot, like you mentioned with Stokely now. And I mean, you look at Christian. I remember back in the day when he did that match with Rhino and TNA, like those hardcore matches that those guys had, even the cage match with Abyss at Lockdown. Everything that those guys did wrapped up into one. You knew what you were going to get because FTR so criminally underrated. I mean, from their WWE tenure to where they were treated to where they are now, those guys are just the epitome of what makes tag team wrestling great, including Edge and Christian. And the other side of the coin, I have to mention to you, I think it was about time. I look forward to where they go next. Konosuke Takeshita beating Kazuchika Okada for the title. I have to ask you, what were your thoughts on that and the Kyle Fletcher heel turn?
So I mean, I kind of figured Fletcher was going to end up, turning heel, or I guess turning more heel, if that's the thing. No, Takeshita and Okada will probably be my match of the night. Just because I like that more New Japan style, and that's what it felt like. It felt like New Japan Okada going out there and doing what Okada does, which is put on a great match. And the fact that Takeshita was the one to beat him for the title and everything, I don't want to say it's a passing of the torch, but it definitely feels like the right direction for Takeshita, because ever since he even came in, everybody was talking about how great he was and how great he's going to be as an asset for AEW. And to have, Fletcher come back and kind of put himself in that international title picture, it just makes sense, I think. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Takeshita and Fletcher do down the road. And maybe now we can kind of have Okada go after, the world title, because I think that's what a lot of people really want, is Okada as the world champion over there in AEW.
I agree with you. And I mean, I've always looked at it like this. When you look at a guy like Kazuchika Okada, I mean, minus the infamous TNA run that was just so bleh. I think outside of that, when you think of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japanese wrestling, you really think of Kazuchika Okada. And Konosuke Takeshita has come leaps and bounds. I remember his match with MJF on Dynamite, whether he's a babyface or even the matches with Kenny Omega as the heel. That dude has such potential, and I think him and Kyle Fletcher, who's another one who has that untapped potential that we're really seeing now, we're going to see a lot of great things from both of these two from the synergy-wise. The other thing I do have to mention here as well, Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly. I know it was made last minute because they went the time limit on Dynamite, but Jon Moxley finally getting that victory over Kyle O'Reilly. What do you think of Moxley getting it over Kyle? And Kyle O'Reilly now even being a trios champion going against Moxley and really having a great match that they do.
Yeah, so I've always kind of been up in the air with, if you've already got a title, do you really need another? Especially when it comes to the mid card titles. Uh, I think, in my opinion, Kyle probably should have won. I like Kyle O'Reilly. He's always been, a great in ring guy, but also he's got that the personality, especially when he has a title. He comes to the ring doing his little guitar thing on the title and everything. So I would have loved to see Kyle win this one, but on the other hand, it is good to see Mox kind of getting back to his Mox thing. I think it's been kind of a while, especially with the whole Death Rider story, where it's just been, we've got Mox, but it just doesn't feel the same.
Mhm.
So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know where Mox goes from here though. Unless they start doing like uh inner group battle with Death Riders. But yeah, as far as Kyle O'Reilly, like you said, he still has that trios title, so you know, he's just got to defend that now.
I mean, it's funny that you bring up where to go with Mox next. And I mean, we saw Will Ospreay beat Samoa Joe. I think my theory is, and we'll touch upon the main event here in a sec, that I think I see Ospreay winning the Owen, and then I could see him beating MJF in Wembley, and then I see Moxley because they're boys and they're celebrating because he's helping him find that killer instinct, so to speak. And then Moxley just rips it from Ospreay and turns on him, and then we get an Ospreay Moxley feud for the world title. That's where I'm kind of leaning that they're going, but that's just my fantasy booking coming out.
I mean, that's not a bad idea at all.
You have so many things that they can do. I think my other thing was they have so many tie-ins that they can use, like with Ospreay and Darby Allin. Darby Allin was telling him, like, "Hey, we got to get rid of these Death Riders because you never know what's going to happen." And Ospreay was focused on winning the Owen the last time, and with Darby, if he would have retained, and we got to see Ospreay and Darby, that would have been something different. But I think the direction that they go, Ospreay and MJF, is the right case. So to see everything that those guys put into it, I think it's going to be awesome. The other thing I will mention as well, that Stadium Stampede, we got Metallica doing the entrances for Jericho and the Elite and the Hurt Syndicate. Like everything that these guys did, the Don Callis family, the Demand, the Dogs. This match was wild. I thought the right team went over. And I got to say, when you think of Stadium Stampede, Chris Jericho's name is definitely up there in the echelon of the history of that match.
Oh yeah, I mean, this one is more along the lines of, with Money in the Bank, it was always Jericho invented it, but he's never won a Money in the Bank. And I think that's the same with Stadium Stampede. He was one of the guys behind the scenes that was like, hey, this would be a cool idea. And he's kind of made it his own. Um, I think he's been in what most of the Stadium Stampedes that have happened now, and he always has the cool entrance attire and everything. Like what everybody came out in the suits.
Mm-hmm.
That was so solid. That was so cool. And then you had Ricochet in that group coming out in the baseball jerseys and everything. I so you said you think the right group went over.
Yeah.
I think that they probably could have gone with Ricochet and them going over just because you have that younger guard that needs that push. You've got Ricochet here who everybody has been clowning him for so long anyways because it's, oh well, now you're in AEW and you're not really doing anything. Like, let him get this win. Let Andrade show why he came back to AEW. Instead of what they had the spot where they were in catering and Andrade was kind of the butt of the joke. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. But you've got, the dogs in there too, and all of these guys are coming in to prove a point. And what point are they proving? We're not as good as the Elite.
You make a great point there. And here's my thing, and I've said this many a times with my shows and our shows now as well, Roy. I look at it like with the dogs, Clark Connors and David Finlay coming in. Big gets from New Japan Pro Wrestling, their styles. David Finlay, the son of Fit Finlay, and Clark Connors is a name in his own right with what he's done thus far in New Japan. But I'm like, dang, man, it's like you have them come in as the dogs and they're vicious. But have they really done anything that made you go, man, the dogs are here? No, they're kind of like stagnant, like right up in here. And I'm just like, you could do so much more with them. I remember back in '06 when they put Kid Cash and Jamie Noble in the Pit Bulls. Now, mind you, there's only one Pit Bulls going back to ECW, but they had something that they could have done with Kid Cash and Jamie Noble, two great wrestlers, but nothing ever came to fruition that made them feel like Pit Bulls, only in names. That's like, I think the Dogs can do more.
Yeah, no, exactly. And maybe they're going to do more. Maybe this was the fire they needed to be like, hey, look, we're not doing great. We teamed up with a bunch of quote unquote nobodies to try to take out the elite.
Mhm.
So now what we need to do is build our rank, and maybe they're going to end up going after Cope and Christian. You know, that could be that they could be the ones to take the titles from them.
That's the thing too. I think a lot of the younger guys now can work with veterans like the Edge and Christians, the Cage and Copes, and I think the Dogs would be fun. It's just how you tell the story to get to there is really how what it's about. And honestly, I think they would be a good fit because both guys are extremely talented. Same with the Demand in their own right, and Ricochet will always be Ricochet. So there's always stuff for all of these amazing talents to do. And speaking of amazing talents, before we get to the main event, when you think of great talent, you think of legends, you think of Mick Foley. Mick Foley is now all elite. He was on the buy-in. He did the angle with MJF. He got kicked in the ding-ding, and then Darby Allin came out and hit him with the save. Look, Mick Foley, if there's anything that he can do, please don't wrestle, number one, because you don't need to get in there, Mick. And number two, the man has always been a great promo guy. That is one of the things that Mick Foley's been legendary for. He can help these young guys out, advice, what have you. But listening to him cut that promo on Darby and really motivating him, it reminded me of 2008 when he was on the cutting edge with Edge and told him, "Am I understood?" And then Edge put him right through that table with the chair. "I understand," off the ladder. I felt that was a great motivation to what we would get in this main event. But the first part of that is, what were your thoughts on Mick Foley now in All Elite Wrestling? Because he looks so happy to be there. Number two, the interaction with MJF.
Well, I mean, good for Mick for finding somewhere that he wants to go and finding somewhere that he wants to be. I believe I said it last week when we were talking about, you know, what's next for Asuka and where we could see like Kyrie and everything. I'm never going to fault anyone for leaving one company and going to another, or going to a company when nobody thinks that they should be there or whatever. I mean, if you want to go, go. I think that having, like you said, having Mick there as kind of a guy who can mentor backstage, but also be a good on screen presence works. Um, he's a well of knowledge. You know, there's nobody in the business who, in my opinion, is smarter than Mick Foley. Um, so it's good for him to be there. I hope he doesn't run into the issues that some other veterans have run into, where the guys backstage just, you know, don't want old guys' opinions. I know that was kind of an issue for a little while where the guys just felt like they knew everything, or they didn't want to take any criticism from the older guys, so they didn't really, you know, mesh well. But I think with Foley, that's not going to be the case, just because he is so well respected. And to put him in the ring with somebody like MJF, um, you know, that was one of the things for a long time they were talking about, you know, MJF saying, "Oh yeah, if you've got one more match, it needs to be against me," kind of thing. Um, I could see, like you said, I don't want to see Mick Foley have another match. It would scare me,
You
to be
too.
honest. Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it would scare me. But I also think that any kind of interaction that he's going to have with MJF is going to be gold, just because of how good MJF is on the mic when he's not hitting low hanging fruit all the time, and how great Mick Foley is on the mic. So if you can find somebody to be Foley's proxy that's not Darby Allin, like have him mentor someone else and let them go against MJF at some point. But don't have it be an established guy that's already there. Or if it is somebody that's already there, have it be somebody who needs that extra rub that you can get from Mick Foley. Because let's go ahead and face it, Darby doesn't need that rub.
No, he does not.
Yeah, Darby's a big enough name in AEW without having to rely on Foley or Sting or anybody like that. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved the father son dynamic of Sting and Darby, but Darby doesn't need that anymore. I think he can stand on his own now.
That's the thing too, and I'm with you. I love Darby and Sting as the tag champs and everything that went there. But Darby's an AEW OG, been there since the days of 2019 and onward. He's been there since day one. So I've always looked at Darby as that guy that definitely does resonate, whether he's babyface or whatever he's doing. He definitely has that connection with the fans that we all love. Very Jeff Hardy reminiscent. Think of like 08, 09. You got to love people like that and amazing things. As far as Foley goes, I know everybody was really wanting to see him and Jon Moxley because they never got to do it in 2012. And for that, I say no. As much as I like Jon Moxley, we don't need to see that in 2026. We really don't. And I understand people's fantasy booking on that, but like you said, I would be scared to see Mick get in the ring. And also on the other side of things too, like you mentioned, like who he can work with on the stick and everything. I mean, look at what happened with Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul. When the Fiend first started, who was one of the Fiend's earliest people that he took out? Mick. Mick gave him his own move, the Mandible Claw.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you talking about Mox, it actually made me think, who would be a pretty decent candidate for a Mick Foley rub? Mance Warner.
Yeah, that would be actually very cool. I saw that he's at Eddie Kingston now and doing his thing there. Yep.
Yeah, I could definitely see, because he's new to the company enough to where he's not too established, but he's also got that, GCW deathmatch style under his belt. So that, thinking about it, that could be a pretty good role that Mick could play, as being the Mancer's mentor. So
just don't have it like it was in TNA with Abyss, where he smacks him over the head with a VCR tape and all that good stuff from back in 2009, and the Dr. Stevie era and God rest her soul, Daphne. My goodness, we're taking it back for everybody. Some good times and great memories. But speaking of good times and great memories, this match, MJF and Darby Allin, hair versus title. These guys went absolutely buck wild. I mean, we saw a package pile driver on steel steps. That Darby dive where he did the suicide dive and like his neck got jammed. Oh my God, my heart was coming out of my chest. We also got to see the bang bang and then the coffin drop on the outside from Darby to MJF through the table. We got to see everything that wasn't nailed down, and these two had an amazing brawl with MJF winning the title back, tombstone off the ropes. Before we get to the aftermatch of this and the aftermath, what were your thoughts on the match in itself? Because these guys always have great chemistry. The side headlock takeover will never not get old. What'd you think, Roy?
I mean, it was, like you said, it was great. I have a hard time watching Darby matches, just for the simple fact of, I almost feel like watching one of his matches is going to be watching his death.
Yeah.
He takes some of the most insane bumps that anybody in the wrestling business takes. And I think there's a line for me where I'm like, oh, that looks like it hurt, to, oh my God, I think he might be dead. And Darby kind of crosses that line for me. Nothing against him. He's a great performer and he's doing it as safe as he can. But that kind of takes it out of me for, his matches. Other than that, though, it was, like you said, it was a great match. They threw everything at each other. I think going into it, I kind of figured MJF was going to win, especially with the whole, hair versus title thing. In my opinion, that kind of made it to where people knew he was going to win. Just because of all the rumors and scuttlebutt, if you will, about him going to Turkey and getting hair transplants and all this other stuff. You're not gonna get, you know, a hair transplant and then come back and be like, you know what? It's a year later. I'm gonna shave my head now. Nah, you're not gonna do that. But I also look at it as Darby had what, like 6 matches between the time he won the title and the
Yeah.
time he lost it. So he's wrestling his style every week, just about on every show. And I knew he wasn't going to hold the title long. It was one of those, like you said, Jeff Hardy things. He won the title. That's what people wanted to see. Now, where do we go from here? We just have him lose it to our heel. And that's going to be it.
I like how you even put it like that, even to add to the Jeff Hardy point. Like, remember when he won the title at Armageddon 08, then he lost it a month later. It was like, okay, we were at least happy that Jeff got the run, and then he got more runs after that. But it's like, then we got the feud with Matt, then we got the Punk feud. So it gave us 2 great feuds and blood feuds out of that. And with Darby, I mean, like you mentioned, he went against Speedball Mike Bailey. He went against Sammy Guevara. He went against everybody and in between because he was a fighting champion. And that toll that it took on his body led to his demise in this match. And one of the people that he mentioned that he wrestled was Kevin Knight. And then Kevin Knight comes out while Darby Allin's on the stretcher, does the splash onto the stretcher. Now, people have been saying, oh, well, they go back to the Swerve promo where he's just like, hey, man, you need that killer instinct. Or even before AEW Double or Nothing on him, he's like, hey, Darby, you got to win it for all of us. You know, you got to do this, Darby. You got to win. Give him like that pep talk. Kevin Knight with the heel turn. There's no more jet speed now. MJF was smiling, looking on. To be completely honest with you, I thought it was a little too soon for Kevin Knight to turn heel. He is the TNT champion. I get it. It's all about how they explain it and the trajectory of the story. But Roy, what were your thoughts? I was kind of like, man, do we really need this now?
I'm with you. I don't think they needed to do it right now. What I would have done if it were me, if I had the pin and everything, I would have waited. I would have waited a little while, especially considering that, you know, Kevin Knight is the TNT champ. When you think TNT title, you think Cody Rhodes, you think Darby Allin. And Mr. Brody, God rest his soul. But you think those 3. Darby made the TNT title what it was. You know, so many times he would go out there and have these matches, and that's all you had to do was play into that. Play into, you know, Kevin Knight saying, hey man, you gave it your all. I hate that you lost. You know what? As a consolation, why don't you face me for the TNT title? You know, and they could do that and then have Darby win. Have Darby beat Kevin Knight, and then Kevin Knight's like, whoa, wait, whoa. I didn't want you to win. I just wanted you to have the match. And then that's when you could do the heel turn rather than, you know, right after the match, you do the heel turn. You don't have to do that at every single pay-per-view. It feels like every AEW pay-per-view, they always have to add a little footnote at the very end that kind of brings the pay-per-view back down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that is, I would hope that it's not intentional. I think it's more, hey, will this work? Let's try it. And then it just doesn't work. And that's been pretty much every AEW pay-per-view where, hey, they're having this A+ pay-per-view throughout the entire night. And then you just crap the bed right there at the end. It's like, why have Kevin Knight turn right now? You know, especially now you're setting up something for Darby instead of setting up something for MJF. MJF's the title winner. You should be setting up something for him after this pay-per-view rather than saying, oh, well, what's next for Darby? It's like, no, you don't need to do that.
I'm with you because MJF is the guy. That's the centerfold. That's the piece right there that you should be focusing on. He just won the title and the Darby Allin getting stretched. You could have ended it like that. And don't get me wrong, Kevin Knight has a lot of potential. He's the Jet. He's the TNT champion. but we could have saved this. And also, it kind of reminds me of like when Christian and all of them had that match, and it's just like, does Nick Wayne really need to turn right now? We couldn't have saved it for like a Dynamite or something and then get Mother Wayne involved. It's the thing. They love doing like the unexpected heel turns at the end, and it's like, we don't need to do this right now.
It doesn't need to happen. It was like that stretch of WWE for a while where every single feud had a pull apart brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Every single feud. It didn't matter who it was, but every single feud had some sort of pull apart brawl, DQ finish to a match that leads to a pull apart brawl. Like, you don't need it. Just like in AEW, you don't need to end your pay per view every time with some random heel turn that we could have done later down the road. Yeah.
Do you think it's kind of like with Tony Khan? He kind of, we mentioned Vince Russo last week. Is it his thing where he's kind of like, he likes to do the swerve upon a swerve upon a swerve? It's like a heel turn to heel turn or heel turn. It's a swerve upon a swerve upon a swerve. And it's like, you don't need that many swerves at the end of a match or in a match.
Yeah. I think it's more, and it's something that we talked about off camera before. I think that AEW is a wrestling promotion that has drama. So, their main focus is match, match, match. Oh yeah, by the way, we've got to add a storyline. Sorry, forgot. Whereas WWE is a storyline driven show with some wrestling. And I think that's the issue that some people have with both companies is you want to have that middle ground of, we can put on great matches, but we also have a cohesive storyline to go along with it. And I think that's all anybody wants is good matches plus a cohesive storyline.
And speaking of good matches and cohesive storylines, this will bring us to our next story. So it was announced that Big Damo, aka Killian Dane, and his wife, Nicola Glenn Cross, aka Nikki Cross, aka Nikki Storm, have acquired Progress Wrestling and Defy Wrestling. And this is from Nikki Cross herself in an interview. She said, "It is not lost on me that there are a few female owners in professional wrestling, so I want to bring my experience and insights to the table and elevate Progress and Defy to new levels." And then this will take us right over here to our next story of this, which is Nikki Cross announced on Twitter, "Our first shows as owners. We have exciting surprises to announce this week. Come along Sunday, June 7th in Manchester at the O2 Ritz, and Sunday, July 26th at the London Electric Ballroom. My first match back on UK soil in over 10 years for Progress Wrestling for Wonder Brawl 2, which features this amazing card right here. So a lot to look forward to when it comes to the world of professional wrestling." So with that being said, Roy, what are your thoughts on Nikki Cross and Killian Dane, Big Damo, acquiring Progress and Defy Wrestling?
I think it's awesome. It's always good to have wrestlers who have very good reputations. I've not heard anything bad about Damo or Nikki Cross. They are really nice people. I think having wrestlers with those type of reputations as owners of a wrestling promotion, especially something like Progress and Defy, it's going to bring a lot of people back to indie wrestling, I think. Because Progress and Defy were such a huge part of, wrestlers now when they were on the indies. So it'll be good to see what happens. And I think with their name value, not only are they going to get more people in seats, but they're going to be able to bring in some people that, maybe other promotions couldn't get. I could definitely see a Wyatt Six reunion at one of their shows down the road or something along that line. I mean, Joe Gacy wrestling in Progress, it makes sense. Like, you think about the old Progress days and everything, like Joe Gacy in progress makes sense and everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they will make the best of the situation when it comes to owning that promotion.
I mean, when you think of guys like Damo and Nikki Cross, it reminds me of NXT UK, where you had the president of Progress at the time sitting with Triple H and Robbie Brookside and all those guys and Johnny Saint at the NXT UK tournament. And it reminds me just what that brand was. But we're seeing an extension of that with Progress being on its own now and really under the guidance of two of the UK scene's hottest talents and legendary talents. So if it's for another place for wrestlers to work, I am for it, as I know you are. The big thing to see here is where they go from here. And I think under the right tutelage like these two, I think it's going to be something spectacular for everybody. And I can't wait to see where it goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of professional wrestling, folks. More UK, more wrestling, and everything in between. More things for these standouts, for these amazing talents. And speaking of amazing talents, let's get into Clash in Italy, as it is this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for Turin, Italy. 5 matches have been announced for the card, so I figured we'd start with this one. It is Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruca for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. We did see at Saturday night's main event, Sol Ruca accidentally hitting Jessica Carr with the Soul Snatcher. Becky Lynch comes in and just mollywops her right after that, and then the match is made for this. Look, Sol Ruca has lost thus far to Io Sky and everything in between from that. Like, Sol Ruca has done her thing thus far, but she's looking to get that big win. There's something in me here that thinks that we're going to get a shock here, and Sol Ruca wins the Women's Intercontinental Championship from Becky, and it becomes a big upset. Think of like when Santino Marella won the title in Milan. This is like one of the Turin miracle, if you will, so to speak. So you can do something of the flavor of that. But if I had to pick in this one, I know it's going to be good. I got to go Sol Ruca to win the title. This is my title change. Who you going with, Roy? Sol Ruca or Becky?
I'm going Sol. She has a high ceiling, in my opinion, when it comes to the main roster. She was so great in NXT, and she had all these great matches, especially with, title matches.
Yeah.
So I think if they weren't going to have this match in Italy, they were going to have the title change at Saturday night's main event. But being that they decided to have this match, the rematch here, it's Sol's to lose. She's going to come in, and I think what's going to happen is they're going to have great match. Sol wins. And then Becky blames Jessica Carr for her losing her title. And we're going to build to a Jessica Carr debut match, if you will, against Becky down the road. But it's not going to have the title involved. So what better way to take the title off of her than to put it on Sol and then go from there?
Like you mentioned, man, I think this is the Sol Ruca's time to win. I think even with Liv Morgan and Io Sky, that shows that they definitely see a lot in her if those are her first 2 matches on the main roster. You mentioned the Zarya Food and the Blake Monroes. I always look at it like this. When it comes to the main roster, and like you mentioned, I definitely want to see Becky Lynch and Jessica Carr. I think a lot of people forget how good of a wrestler Jessica Carr is, trained at the Team 3D Academy. So the girls got a lot to work with, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with how good that match actually will be. And speaking of a match that also will be very good, we'll go to this next match. So this is the only title match. This is the only match that doesn't have a title on it, excuse me. It's Oba Brock 2, Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar. Look. Oh, boy. So we saw the promo on Raw. Brock Lesnar's like, I'm retired, but that's not how I'm going to go out. And he's like, I'm going to beat you over this time. And then Oba's like, I'm not going to beat him. I'm going to kill him. Signs a contract in the ring with Paul Heyman. It should have just ended at WrestleMania. It was perfect. You had it right here. But we're doing it again. I'm going to go with who I want because I want to see just Oba mollywop him again. Because, again, like we mentioned last week, it's fine to just Brock to just that way, Brock. That way. We don't really need Brock Lesnar at this point in time in WWE. And I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people are fans of Brock Lesnar. I get the attraction. I get the star power. But it's okay. Like, we really don't need Brock Lesnar right now. We have Obafemi. We have Braun Breaker. We have all these guys that we can build. We don't need a Brock Lesnar. My goodness gracious. Before I ran even more, Oba's my pick. Roy, go ahead.
All right. So I'm going Brock.
Yeah,
I don't want to go Brock, but if we agree on everything, it's not a good podcast.
this is true.
I gotta go Brock just for the simple fact of logic. Hart, Oba, 100%. You know, he's over like Rover, and they've got a strut cam for him where people in the fans are doing the Oba. So yeah, why not? But because wrestling logic dictates if the guy comes back, he's got to win. They either set up for a third match, or I think we mentioned it last week. They set up, they do 50-50 in this feud, and then somehow or another Brock, Gunther in at SummerSlam.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, it makes sense to do it that way, which I have a theory of how we can get there, but I'll hold off until we get further in predictions. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm going Brock. I'm going Brock.
All right. Now, first and foremost, I saw the kind of like the soul just came out of you. They were, I guess I'm going Brock. The soul. I feel you. I think everybody's soul is just coming out of their body. Our souls are getting snatched, so to speak, to take it back to Soul Ruka. Oh my goodness. But then right after that, we will go to another championship match, as it is for the WWE Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. Yeah, I'm kind of all right. So I get it because the Saturday Night's main event, great match. Alexa, Rhea, Charlotte on the same page, the hugging, very cutesy spot, and then Jade takes advantages and pins Rhea. I'm going to tell you what this reminds me of. I know this might be a very weird analogy, but here we go, Roy. Follow the bouncing ball. It reminds me of 2007. John Cena beat the Great Khali at Judgment Day 2007, and then the Great Khali beats John Cena at Saturday Night's main event, and then we get to One Night Stand, and John Cena beats Great Khali in the Falls Count Anywhere match. So Jade wins here, which I think we kind of had a feeling she was going to at Saturday Night's main event, gets the pin. To culminate and finish this feud so Rhea can move on to somebody else, maybe a Blake Monroe or anybody. I'm going to go with Mommy to retain over Jade Cargill. The storm is not coming for Jade. Mommy all the way. Who you picking, Rhea or Jade?
So I'm a huge Rhea fan. Ever since the Mae Young Classic, where she had the long blonde hair and everybody was like, "Oh, this is like Charlotte Flair 2.0." I was like, "Oh yeah, she's going to be great." That being said, I'm actually going to go Jade with this match.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is they're building up her stable. You got B-Fab, you got Michin, and I think they could play a part in Jade winning this match. Now, granted, it'll probably end up being they try to play a part, they get kicked out, Riptide 1, 2, 3, Rhea wins. But I could see a world where Jade wins, and then you have Jade move on, and she beats Charlotte. She beats Alexa, and she goes on this tear, and then you have, somebody like maybe Jada Parker come up and beat Jade. Start bringing in some of these fresher faces from NXT. Lola Vice would be a great one to come in and beat Jade. But you could start integrating some of these NXT talents onto the main roster, and I think Jade would be a good bridge for that, where she's faced these people that are already here, she's facing the people that are coming up. It gives her reps as a ring general, if you will, and being able to call the matches, but it also gives her opportunity to show out and show, hey, look, this is why I'm here. I didn't just come here to be a pretty face. I'm here to take names and to kick butt. So
I like your style with the takeover, that being Jade, Mia Yim, and B-Fab. I also look at it like this. Do you think she can hold it as long as she can, and then when Bianca Belair comes back, we get Bianca being the one to beat Jade? Or would you put, like you mentioned, like a Callie Armstrong against Jade Cargill? Like, there's so many things that they could do. Or would you hold off for Bianca to come back?
I wouldn't hold off for Bianca just because, I mean, you're looking at maybe like a year before
Yeah.
she comes back. Uh, Within that time, though, you could have Jade win and then lose and then win again. And then after she wins the title that second go round, that could be when Bianca shows up. I know we just talked about, hating seeing heel turns and surprises right after a big thing. But you have Jade beat somebody like a returning Naomi later down the road. And then right after the match, you have Bianca coming back and taking out Jade. I think that could work, but I wouldn't have her have a full year long reign. I would break it up a little bit.
Speaking of breaking up a little bit, next matchup that we are going to go into, Mr. Roy, is Cody Rhodes and Gunther for the undisputed WWE Championship. Look, they have history from the Rumble. They faced each other before. They have great chemistry together. Gunther just randomly is on SmackDown, and Paul Heyman's like, hey, I got him a title match. That's the favor. And here we are. Look, man, I don't know. I know Sami Zayn just walked out on Cody after getting beat by Gunther. I think we're going to get Cody and Sami. That's definitely going to be imminent. I don't know. Like, we also have the King of the Ring coming up, and as we saw, the first person in it is L.A. Knight. Yeah. And so many great things are going to happen with the King of the Ring, Queen of the Mic tournament. But yeah, if I had to pick just because, and he's that white meat babyface, to put it in the bluntest of terms, sounded like Wildfire Tommy Rich over here, I got to go with Cody Rhodes to retain. But it would not shock me if Gunther wins. But I'm going to go with, Cody Rhodes. Who you picking, Cody Rhodes, or Gunther?
Yeah, man. I mean, you can't go wrong picking Cody, but you are wrong picking
Thanks.
Cody because Gunther's winning this one. This plays into what I was talking about. Gunther wins. Brock beats Oba. Guess what? Not only was part of that deal, hey, I can get you a match for the title. Maybe part of that deal is my beast wants to face you for the title. So now we've got Gunther and Brock at SummerSlam in Minneapolis. You have Gunther take him out, put him out, just like Old Yeller, and then call it a day. You can keep building Sami Zayn and Cody on the back burner. You can maybe do like a triple threat down the road with Gunther, Sami, and Cody, whatever that is. But I think Gunther wins, and then you have him and Brock at SummerSlam. And that's how we tie all that together.
I like that plan, and definitely it gives you the feeling of that will be Brock's official swan song. But I got to tell you right now, Roy, the way that you're coming at me, talk about how I'm wrong, I feel like Edge back in the day. You're wrong. You were wrong. You were wrong. You were wrong. You're just pointing out all the wrongs in here, man. We do. But no, I completely understand where you're coming from. But for me, I don't know. I think it's just because the investment of Cody Rhodes being that top white meat babyface, like we mentioned, but we shall see. Either way, and I know people have hated on Gunther, and one of the things I've always hated about that, because we always talk about the discourse here, Roy, it's like, he's boring. He's a catch-as-catch-can wrestler. I'm going to tell you right now, this might just be me. I think it's probably also you, Roy. I've never been bored watching Gunther. Never been bored. Never been bored. But hey,
the man beat Ciampa with a chop.
Yes, that's true. He beat him with a chop.
Who else can beat somebody with a chop? What are we doing here? No, Gunther's not boring. It's just people are so used to flashy. People want flashy. So the average everyman is going to see Gunther and be like, oh, he's just a big guy that does wrestling. But then they're going to see somebody like LA Knight, like you were talking about earlier, and they're going to love him because he's flashy. He comes out. He has a catchphrase. He has glasses that have the mirrors on them. He wears these big, bright colored vests. People are going to love him. But you put Gunther and LA Knight in the ring together, I'm picking Gunther 100 times out of 100. I'm sorry. Like, that's just.
Dude, and I love their matches in NXT, but I'm like, I don't see LA Knight getting the dub in the
No, absolutely not. So, yeah, people can say Gunther is boring all they want, but guess what? I'm bored of Cody being a champion.
I'm right there with you in a sense as well. By the way, I want to say, if y'all want to say he's boring, watch his debut match on NXT UK against Jack Stars and look at Jack Stars' chest. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, I feel it every time. Speaking of feeling it, we are at our main event of Clash in Italy. Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu. Tribal combat for the World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, so it's Bloodline 2 Electric Boogaloo. I liked the the face-off this week. It set the tone. Jacob going absolutely bananas and throwing the chair and the table and whatnot, beating up security. You know, everyone and their mother is going to interfere in this. I sense an LA.
Oh, yeah.
I sense an LA Knight interference. The Usos, the Vision. I sense anybody and anyone. Do you think this is where we see the debut of Zilla and Journey Fatu and siding with Jacob?
See, I was actually going to say I could see Zilla coming in towards the end of this match. I think there's going to be some sort of debut or return. I do think that. As far as who wins this match, because they put that stipulation of, it's tribal combat. If I win, you have to bow down to me. If you win, I will bow down to you, kind of thing. So I don't see Roman as someone's right hand. I see Roman as a leader, and I don't know how believable it would be to see him as someone's right hand again. I say again because, you go back to the Shield days, he wasn't the leader. He was just the enforcer of the group.
He was the silent but deadly enforcer. That's all he was, really.
Yeah, so I don't see that happening, but also if you don't pull the trigger now, when do you put Jacob in the title picture? Like, when do you go ahead and say, you know what, Jacob, now's your time?
Do you see? I can possibly see him winning the Royal Rumble next year. If I'm being completely honest, that's a big bet for the Royal Rumble.
I could see that, but I could also see, somebody who may not have been around for a while coming back and winning.
True.
It's kind of too early to tell just because we're only in May.
Yep.
So that's still a ways off. You never know who's leaving AEW. You never know who's, it could be Jericho come back and win. Who knows? I don't know. But I think they pushed Jey Uso before they pushed Jacob.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm like, you know what, man? Just give Jacob the title. I personally thought that it was going to be at Mania when it was going to be him and Drew.
Yeah.
And then they took the title off of Drew, and I'm like, then what are we even doing here? Like, give Jacob the chance to be the guy that you give the baton to. But instead, they're just like, we'll let you get close to the finish line. And by the way, now here's another extra, 5 miles you got to run. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. That's just a long-winded way of saying Jacob's going to try to have reinforcements, but I think they're going to end up being Roman's reinforcements, and Roman's going to end up winning.
I'm right there with you. I co-sign everything you said, to put in the bluntest of terms. I can't see Roman being anyone's right-hand man. I think we're going to see Jacob take that role and being under Roman's tutelage. I think it's going to be really good. I like Jacob and I love Roman. I love both of these gentlemen. I know what they're capable of. But I think in this scenario, it is too soon. So as I'm putting up my ones, I will acknowledge the tribal chief and say Roman gets the win here at Clash in Italy. And that, my friends, is the Clash in Italy predictions. We have covered a lot of basis and ground in our second episode here. Roy, I got to tell you, I cannot wait to next week where we review Clash in Italy and give us a little notes and news on everything. There is a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling, and this is why we bring it up and we take it down each and every week here. Roy, before we close this out, I will let you go first, good sir, before I do my plugs and everything and anything.
Absolutely.
Tell us where we can find you and promote the socials.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So last week I said I had no socials. This week I feel like I have all the socials. I have been a busy boy, and we now have a X page, which is just the Takedown Pod. And I tried to keep it as simple as possible on everything, whether it's X or YouTube or even TikTok. Just type in the Takedown Pod and it should take you right to us. I'm trying to put as much content that way we build into the algorithms on everything. But yeah, just check us out pretty much anywhere on the Takedown Pod.
Links will be in the description for everything Takedown Pod. And like Roy mentioned, we're going to be in the works on so many great things for each and every one of you. So if you want to also follow the channels, like Roy mentioned, the Takedown Pod on YouTube, you can also find it on my YouTube channel, S&M Network Shows. If you want to follow me, SM Show 1 or MCL92 on the Twitter machine. You can also check me out on Instagram at MLarkinMB, and Larkin_92. And if you want to find this podcast, also audio-wise, go to WFJAFM.com/podcast. Like I put the slash, like I'm Zorro up in here, /podcast. And we get to see a lot of great content from each and every one on the WFJA-FM website. So please go out of your way. The links will be in the description. And that will conclude another edition of the Takedown Pod. We appreciate you. We love you. And we'll see you next week after we tour and really go into Clash in Italy. Dare I say, an evening in Roma, Mambo Italiano, That's Amore, Everybody Loves Somebody. Roy, we got to get out of here before I go through the whole Dean Martin singing catalog up in here, man. And I will say this, bring it up, take it down. Yeah. Roy, can I get a yeah?
Yeah.
And not only do we do this for RC Cola and Cheerwine, but RC Cola and Cheerwine for the win. Yeah!